Listen, what I'm about to tell you is not something people talk about openly. It's not the kind of truth you find in books, social media, quotes, or motivational speeches. This is the kind of truth you feel deep in your chest. The kind that shakes your entire identity once you see it clearly. Because the biggest pain in your life, the one you carry quietly, the one you never explain to anyone, the one you pretend doesn't exist, that pain has a real reason behind it, and dark psychology exposes that reason with brutal clarity. Here's the hook, and listen to this slowly. Your deepest pain is not caused by what people did to you, but by what you started believing about yourself because of what they did. This is where the real damage happens. People hurt you once, but the belief you built around that hurts you every single day. Someone abandoned you, and you started believing you're not worth staying for. Someone ignored you, and you started believing your voice doesn't matter. Someone broke your trust, and you started believing everyone leaves. Someone made you feel small, and you started believing you were small. This is the real reason behind the biggest pain in your life. You didn't just experience hurt, you adopted the pain as part of your identity. And once pain becomes identity, it becomes the lens through which you see everything. Dark psychology calls this internalized wounding. A wound that doesn't stay in the memory, it moves into your self-image. And here's where the law of attraction connects. Whatever you believe about yourself shapes what you attract into your life. If you believe you're unworthy, you attract people who confirm it. If you believe relationships end in betrayal, you attract situations that match that belief. If you believe you're replaceable, you attract people who treat you that way. Your reality bends around your wounds. But listen, closely, your pain isn't a weakness, it's a message, a signal, a mirror reflecting the part of you that needs to wake up. Because the real reason behind your deepest suffering is not the event, but the identity you built because of that event. And you can change that identity. You can break that pattern. You can reclaim the parts of yourself you abandoned. Your life does not have to continue repeating the same story. But the first step is awareness. The first step is seeing what you've been blind to. The first step is confronting the silent truth inside you. Your pain was never meant to define you. It was meant to reveal you. Partner, what you're about to hear now is not ordinary psychology. This is the deepest layer, the layer where silent wounds turn into lifelong patterns. And the truth is, most people never realize this is even happening to them. Because pain doesn't stay where it hits you. It travels, it moves, it rewires your identity. Slowly, quietly, invisibly. Dark psychology explains something terrifying but true. A wound that is not healed becomes a belief. A belief that is not challenged becomes a reality. And a reality repeated long enough becomes your personality. Let me show you how this happens. Someone hurt you years ago, but the wound didn't end in that moment. It planted a seed. That seed grew into a belief, and that belief shaped your behavior. And now that behavior shapes your entire life. You're not avoiding love because you choose to. You're avoiding love because your pain taught you that opening up means getting hurt again. You're not afraid of failure because you're weak. You're afraid because someone made you feel like one mistake defines your worth. You're not quiet because it's your personality. You're quiet because somewhere along the way, your voice was punished, ignored, or overwritten. Pain doesn't just hurt you. Pain trains you. It trains you to shrink, to doubt, to hesitate, to settle, to feel undeserving, to stay quiet when you should speak, to run when you should stay, to chase people who treat you poorly, to ignore people who treat you well, to sabotage good things because you expect loss. This is what internal pain does. It shapes your reality to match your emotional memory. And here comes the dark twist, the part that hits the deepest. Your mind isn't trying to hurt you. It's trying to protect you. Your identity molds itself around the pain because it believes that changing yourself will prevent future hurt. But in protecting you, your mind also stops you from growing, stops you from loving, stops you from trusting, stops you from seeing your value, stops you from living freely. And without realizing it, you begin living a life built around fear, not truth. But here's where the law of attraction kicks in. You unconsciously attract situations that reflect your internal identity. Not what you want, but what you believe. If you believe you're unworthy, you'll attract people who confirm that belief. If you believe relationships bring pain, you'll attract chaos and instability. If you believe you are meant to be alone, you'll attract loneliness everywhere you go. Even in crowded rooms, your outer world mirrors your inner world. But listen, partner, awareness breaks the spell. Once you see how pain shaped your identity, you gain the power to reshape it. Right now, comment this phrase below to anchor your shift. I release the pain that rewired me. And later in this section, as promised, comment it again to reprogram your mind. I release the pain that rewired me. This is your first act of emotional freedom. This is where your transformation starts. There's something you must understand. Pain doesn't just sit quietly inside you. It moves, it acts, it behaves, it becomes a pattern. And the scariest part, most people spend their entire lives repeating the same emotional wounds, with different people, different places, and different faces. Dark psychology exposes one of the most powerful truths about the human mind. Your brain is addicted to what it is familiar with, not what is healthy. If your mind grew up around rejection, it unconsciously searches for people who make you feel ignored, not because you want to be rejected, but because your brain learned to identify rejection as normal. If your past was filled with chaos, your mind becomes uncomfortable around peace, and it gravitates toward relationships that feel unstable, even when you consciously want something calm. If you lived in an environment where you had to prove yourself, your mind will attract situations where your worth feels questioned, because that's the emotional pattern it recognizes. Read this carefully. You don't repeat pain because you're weak. You repeat pain because your brain mistakes pain for familiarity, and familiarity feels safe. This is the cruel trap. Your logical mind wants happiness, but your emotional programming pulls you back to people who feel like your past. This is why someone kind feels boring to you while someone unpredictable feels exciting. It's not attraction, it's trauma chemistry. This is why you stay longer than you should, why you give more than you receive, why you forgive things that broke you, why you settle for half love, why you doubt people who genuinely care, why you trust people who prove they shouldn't be trusted. Your brain is replaying an emotional template created by your deepest wounds, and until you break that template, life starts to look like a loop. Different year, different people, same pain. But here's the truth that can save you. You are not bound to your emotional history. You can break the pattern you inherited. The moment you become aware of the loop, you interrupt it. You stop letting your past choose your future. You stop letting old pain shape new experiences. You stop letting wounded beliefs make your decisions. You begin recognizing the red flags you once ignored. You begin feeling uncomfortable with people you once chased. You begin walking away from situations you once clung to. You begin craving peace instead of chaos. And that shift, that quiet inner shift, is where your freedom begins. To lux this into your subconscious. Write this in the comments right now. Asterisk, I break the pattern. And later, as the reprogramming anchor, I break the pattern. Because the moment you declare it, your mind begins searching for a new direction. The cycle ends the moment awareness begins, and you're becoming aware now, more than ever. There comes a moment in your life, a moment you never forget, where your heart finally whispers something your mind ignored for years. I can't keep chasing people who keep breaking me. This moment is powerful, life-changing, and terrifying. Because deep down, you already know this truth. You weren't chasing them because they were special. You were chasing them because their behavior matched your emotional wounds. Let that sink in. Humans rarely chase what is good for them. They chase what feels familiar. And if pain feels familiar, you will chase the very people who activate that pain. Dark psychology explains this in one brutal line. You don't fall for people. You fall for patterns. The person who ignores you now feels similar to the person who'd ignored you before. The person who invalidates you echoes someone from your past, who made you feel unheard. The person who makes you anxious resembles the emotional instability you grew up around. That's why you hold on. That's why you wait. That's why you keep trying. Not because you love them, but because a broken part of you is trying to fix an old wound through a new person. But listen closely. You can't heal a wound by letting the same type of person reopen it. You can't find peace by staying loyal to someone who thrives on your silence. You can't grow by shrinking yourself to keep someone comfortable. You can't become the person you were meant to be while trying to impress people who don't even recognize your worth. There is a moment when something inside you reads, and you finally stop running after people who were never running toward you. That moment is painful, but pure, heavy, but liberating, quiet, but powerful. Because the moment you stop chasing, you break the psychological pattern that kept you trapped for years. You stop mistaking effort for value. You stop confusing chaos for love. You stop interpreting anxiety as connection. You stop believing that you have to earn the right to be cared for. The law of attraction becomes brutally honest here. The energy you chase, you accidentally teach your mind to depend on, but the energy you step away from, you teach your mind to outgrow. When you stop chasing people who hurt you, your life doesn't get emptier, it gets cleaner. Your mind gets quieter. Your heart gets lighter. Your identity gets stronger. And most importantly, your self-worth finally has room to breathe. This is your reminder. You don't have to prove anything. You don't need permission to walk away. You don't need validation to choose peace. The real healing begins not when someone values you, but when you stop betraying yourself by valuing the wrong people. You deserve a life that doesn't drain you. You deserve relationships that don't require suffering to maintain. You deserve people who don't demand that you shrink in order to be seen. You deserve better the moment you decide you deserve better. And this moment right here is your shift. There's a truth most people never understand. A truth that explains why your life feels stuck, why nothing seems to improve, why your relationships repeat the same pain, and why you feel like you're moving, but not moving anywhere. That truth is simple. Your outer world cannot change until your inner world changes first. This is not positivity. This is not motivation. This is hard psychology. Because everything you experience in the outside world is shaped by the beliefs, emotions, and wounds you carry on the inside. If your inner world is filled with fear, your decisions will reflect fear. If your inner world is filled with doubt, your behavior will reflect doubt. If your inner world is shaped by past hurt, your relationships will repeat that hurt. If your inner world lacks self-worth, your environment will confirm that lack. You can change your looks, your job, your city, your friends, your goals. But if your internal identity stays the same, your life will eventually return to the same emotional patterns. And that's why people leave a toxic partner and fall into another toxic relationship. And that's why someone runs from their past but recreates it in a new place. That's why someone keeps losing friendships that feel different, but end exactly the same. The outside changes, but the inside remains untouched. Dark psychology reveals that your subconscious is thousands of times more powerful than any conscious decision you make, and your subconscious only follows what it has experienced consistently, not what you hope, wish, or desire. This is why the law of attraction doesn't start with manifestation techniques. It starts with identity. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you believe you are. If you believe you're unworthy, you unconsciously sabotage opportunities that could prove you wrong. If you believe you're meant to be hurt, you ignore the people who would treat you well and run toward the ones who won't. If you believe love is painful, you'll confuse peace for boredom and chaos for passion. Nothing outside you will shift until something inside you shifts first. And here's the real turning point. Your inner world begins to change the moment you stop explaining your pain and start understanding it. The moment you stop saying, "Why does this always happen to me?" and start asking, "What inside me keeps choosing this?" The moment you stop blaming situations and start decoding patterns. The moment you stop trying to fix people and start healing yourself. And when that internal shift happens, your entire life begins to reorganize around you. The people you once chased stop feeling attractive. The habits that once controlled you lose their power. The chaos you once tolerated becomes unbearable. The boundaries you were once afraid to set become your new standard. Your energy changes, your choices change, your reactions change, your expectations change. And when you change, the world has no choice but to change with you. To anchor this identity shift, comment this phrase below: "I choose inner transformation." And once more, to lock it into your subconscious: I choose inner transformation. Because the future version of you is built on the inner decisions you make today. There is a moment, a single moment, when everything you've heard so far stops being information and becomes revelation. A moment where you finally understand that the biggest pain in your life was never meant to break you. It was meant to wake you. Pain has a purpose, not a punishment, not a curse. A purpose People think the worst moments of their life ruined them, but the truth is far deeper. Pain doesn't destroy you. Pain destroys the version of you that wasn't meant to survive, the version of you that stayed silent, the version of you that tolerated disrespect, the version of you that carried wounds like identity, the version of you that kept abandoning yourself just to keep others close, the version of you that mistook suffering for love, the version of you that believed you needed permission to be enough. That version needed to die for the real you to live, because hidden underneath the pain is a stronger you, a wiser you, a more aligned you, a version of you that finally understands why everything happened the way it did. You were not meant to break. You were meant to break open. You were not meant to lose yourself. You were meant to lose the parts of you that were never real to begin with. You were not meant to chase the wrong people. You were meant to recognize the right direction. Pain is the first teacher and the last warning. It tells you, stop living through old wounds. Stop letting your past choose your present. Stop shrinking yourself for people who don't know how to value you. Stop confusing your worth with someone else's behavior. And here's the final truth dark psychology wants you to see. You are not broken. You are becoming. Every heartbreak gave you discernment. Every rejection gave you redirection. Every loss gave you strength. Every silence gave you clarity. Every ending gave you a beginning. Your pain is not a prison, it's a passage. But the most important realization is this. You were never meant to heal into the old version of you. You were meant to evolve into someone completely new. Someone who doesn't chase. Someone who chooses. Someone who doesn't beg. Someone who attracts. Someone who doesn't break. Someone who rebuilds. Someone who doesn't fear losing people. Someone who fears losing themselves. And from this moment forward, your life will never go backwards. Because you've seen a truth you cannot unsee. That truth is simple. You deserve a life that feels like peace. You deserve people who value your presence. You deserve a mind unstuck from the past. You deserve a heart that feels safe inside itself. And you deserve to become the person you were always meant to be, not the version shaped by pain, but the version revealed by healing. Now take a breath. Feel this moment in your chest. And if you're truly ready for your next chapter, comment this final phrase, I rise from my pain. Because the moment you declare it, your transformation becomes unstoppable. This isn't the end, partner. This is your beginning.